Which notebook, really? Are you getting ready to start journaling for the first time, but you just don't know which notebook is right for you? Maybe you've tried journaling before, but that last notebook that you picked out really got on your nerves. Or perhaps you've been journaling for years, but you want to try a different method or technique in 2025, and you want to pick out a notebook that'll be more conducive for your new technique. Regardless, we've all got the same problem, which is, which notebook should I get? Over the next few days, I'm going to be releasing a series of 6 short videos starting today. 5 tips on journal selection. The second one will be on paper format. The third will be paper quality. Fourth will be notebook dimensions. The fifth will be brands and prices. And the sixth will be the surprising benefits of spiral bound notebooks. You'll notice that I refer to fountain pens and inks quite a bit when I'm talking about paper quality in particular. If you don't use fountain pens, what I have to say about paper quality doesn't really matter so much. Ballpoint and gel pens can write on a whole host of different papers without the same concerns that fountain pen users have. Let's dive into today's video, 5 tips for picking a notebook. I'm going to rattle off the tips and then look at each one in detail. Number 1, have fun. Number 2, see, touch, feel. Number 3, get samples. Number 4, go thin. And number 5, beware of imitation leather. All right, number 1, have fun. Take the stress out of the notebook selection process by adopting the attitude that it's okay to change your mind. If you pick out a notebook and a week later you decide you don't like it, get a different one. There is no rule saying that you must fill up every notebook that you buy. There aren't notebook police wandering around waiting to give you a ticket for changing your mind. Number 2, see, touch, feel. For this, I suggest going to a local, independent fountain pen and stationery store. And the reason I suggest that is because stores of this type will have a broad selection of notebooks with good quality paper, and prices will vary from affordable to luxury. Plus, they'll likely have options that I'll describe under my next tip. Sit tight for a second. If you don't have a local fountain pen and stationery store near you, then one of the big box stores is fine. Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million, Office Depot, Office Max, Staples, Target, Walmart. Tuesday mornings, there are so many stores that carry good quality notebooks. The point is to see it, touch it, feel it. Sometimes your journal is going to speak to you. You'll be flipping through the pages and it's just going to say, hey, stop. You don't need to look anymore. I'm the one. Take me home and write in me. And if that happens for you, great. Others of us will freeze up at the sheer selection before our eyes. And the thought of spending $30 or $40, or $10 or $20 for that matter, is nerve-wracking. That's why I've come up with the next point. My third point, get samples. And you can do this by picking up spiral-bound notebooks or pamphlet-style notebooks. I suggest grabbing 4, one for each of the paper formats: blank, dot grid, graph, and ruled or lined. I'm going to be talking about these in detail in my next video, but if you're going to run with this, get the samples idea, then great. And the idea here is to kick the tires. Do you guys know what kick the tires means? I know it's an old-time saying from an old guy. It just means to experiment, try something out without spending a lot of money. You'll be startled by the quality of the paper you'll find in spiral-bound or pamphlet-style notebooks. For $20 to $30, you can get into all 4 paper formats and literally experiment with some of the best quality paper in the world. Plus, you may even decide that you'd like these extra thin options. I did. I like these thin pamphlet-style notebooks so much that I've incorporated them into my daily journaling practice, which I'll show you in a future video. For instance, here is a spiral bound by Merriman called Minasami. The paper is bright white, fountain pen friendly, and tough. Smooth as glass to write on. And look how well this thing just falls open. They're very well made. And here are some of those pamphlet style notebooks that I mentioned. These are made with rhodia. This is 80 GSM paper. This is their graph design. This has 96 pages, 48 sheets of paper, 96 pages. A5 is the size. The reason I mention that is because A5 is the most popular size notebook by a long shot. You can pick up 4 of these Rhodia notepads to cover each one of the formats for $20 and be close to 400 pages for less than the cost of a 251-page Leuchtturm. I got mine at the Pen Boutique store. It's called Pen Boutique in Columbus, Maryland in November, just a few weeks ago when I was visiting. So if you don't have a fountain pen and stationery store near you, there you go. Pen Boutique, penboutique.com. They ship worldwide. Another option, if you want to get into Tomoe River paper, these Lochby notebooks, Lochby. This one is ruled. I use this one for my commonplace book, which I will talk about on future videos, but $7.99. It's 72 pages, 36 sheets of paper on Amazon. Same thing with the Doc Grid. I won't belabor the point. My point is, you can experiment without spending a lot of money. And for under $30, you can experiment with some of the best papers in the world. One last example, quickly. This is Midori Graph. They are 48 pages, 24 sheets, 3-pack for under $10. This is my favorite paper right now. It's just brilliant. All right. My point is, for under $30, you can end up with more pages of paper covering all 4 formats than you would spend on a single Leuchtturm 1917 A5 notebook. Okay, let's move on to my 4th tip. Number 4, go thin. Stay away from 300, 400, 500 page notebooks. You'll be tempted because it feels like it's the better value, but I'll tell you, filling up a 300 to 500 page notebook becomes a real dirge. Something to dread. There are reasons why the leading notebook manufacturers print theirs, depending on the dimensions, anywhere between 48 and 244 pages, and they'll max out at 251. And it's not all about the marketing. I have 2 reasons why you're going to want to go thin. One is physical, and one is mental, and they're very closely related. So first, the physical. Thin notebooks have fewer pages. They lay flatter. This is great for hand fatigue. I have arthritis, so this is extra important to me, but I talk to a lot of people who complain about hand fatigue. So here's the idea. The thinner the notebook, the more even you can keep your hand. If it's thicker, you got to raise your hand up. See what I'm saying? You raise your hand up and you're going to get more hand fatigue. The more even you can keep your arm on the surface of the table or desk that you're writing on, the less fatigue and pain you'll experience. The second reason is mental, believe it or not. Thinner notebooks, again, have fewer pages, which means that you can fill them up faster. And there is something super rewarding about filling up a notebook and starting it on that next one. It's like your chest breaking the tape at the finish line. Thinner notebooks, fewer pages, faster completion, more feel-good opportunities. The thickest notebook I use today is 251 pages. It's an A5, this is a Leuchtturm. Compared to my favorite notebook, this one, which is only 47 pages, I can fit about half the number of words in this because of the dimensions that I can in the Leuchtturm. Here, let me show you. This Midori notebook is 47 pages. Yes, its dimensions are larger in terms of height and width compared to the Leuchtturm 1917, and I can only get about half the words into this that I can into the Leuchtturm, but I do so painlessly, and I get 3 packs of these also for $12.99. So, that's interesting. That's still less than the cost of a Leuchtturm. Come to think of it, the paper quality, oh my gosh, it's scrumptious for my fountain pens. Okay, you with me? Get me? Go thin. Number 5, beware of imitation leather. I almost recommend against it, and I'm going to show you why. I used this brand of notebook for, look at that, I got to keep the thing wrapped in paper, crying out loud. I used this brand of notebook for 4 years. I filled up 13 of them. And after a few years, they started falling apart. Can you see this? All right. It leaves this nasty black residue rubber dust, fake leather dust everywhere. They stick to each other. They leave streaks on my white bookshelves. It's annoying. I do all sorts of dog tricks to mitigate their nastiness. By the way, some marketing will advertise the Rhodia Web Notebook as having a leatherette cover. It's not, it's rubber. And I want to draw a sharp distinction here because, for instance, you see how nice that notebook looks? This notebook is over 20 years old and it looks brand new. So the Rhodia Web Notebooks and other brands like it that use this rubberized cover, rugged, durable, lasts forever, half the price of one of these imitation leather notebooks. It's not worth it. All right, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, share the video with other people. To sum it up, my 5 tips as you start your notebook selection process are: 1, have fun. Don't be afraid to change your mind. 2, see, touch, feel. 3, get samples, spiral bound or pamphlets, blank, dot grid, graph and ruled. Number 4, go thin. And number 5, beware of imitation leather. In my next video, we'll take a look at paper formats. Be thinking about your why, because your objective in journaling may well impact the paper format that you choose. Stay tuned.